And Don Henley and Morning Dave here. Good morning. Appreciate you being here. 68 degrees, cloudy, and yeah, it looks like about noon we're going to get another band of rain coming in off the Gulf Coast expected. We're at 8:41 now. Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation. Time, check in and find out what's going on with your money with the expert assistance of Philip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring, who's on the telephone with me today. Philip, I'm not tired of the rain yet. We need more, don't we?
We do. We definitely need more, and we got plenty last night and this morning and more today. So as long as it's gone by the weekend, it should be good.
That's kind of what I was saying. You know, we can schedule our rainfalls during weekdays. For most of us, that works out pretty good. I got 2 days of over an inch of rain in my rain gauge when I went out to check it in the morning, and that's the kind of numbers that we need in order to at least get close to catching off after an abnormally dry winter. Looking at the markets, yesterday ended up being a green day. One of my tip sheets was calling it confused optimism. Dow went up by about 0.3%, a little more than that, up 165 points. S&P was up by 0.4% and a little. NASDAQ up by more than 0.5% up, and even the Russell 2000 chimed in over 0.4% worth of gain. My fear and greed index is still an extreme fear, but my amateur investor index is actually starting to move toward just fear instead of extreme fear. And with the deadline tonight over in Iran, and the fact that we evidently hit the Karg Island oil terminal in Iran overnight last night, I got to believe that optimism isn't necessarily what I'm feeling right now. How about you?
Definitely doesn't seem to be optimism in the futures this morning as we continue to hear about oil issues. And because earlier this morning when I got up, it was, hey, look, everything's green, everything's positive on, we're going to get this whole thing worked out. And I don't know, somewhere between the time I left my house and I got to the office, that changed.
Yeah, it was very early this morning. I saw my futures were in positive, and then the news came out that we'd evidently hit that oil terminal right on the Strait of Hormuz, and everything just fell like a rock. And I got a sneaking hunch if I had real-time numbers in that fear and greed index, I'll bet you it went backwards then as well, don't you think?
Most likely, Dave, given what we're seeing right now.
Seems to get there. Yeah, for folks that haven't been focusing on it, and I don't blame you, haven't been, 8 p.m. tonight, another one of those President Trump deadlines he gave Iran, that unless they open up the Strait of Hormuz, to which Iran has said hell no, basically, he's going to start bombing the infrastructure in Iran, which has a lot of the opposition just absolutely having kittens over the notion, because those qualify as civilian-based targets, and it's not the most popular thing to do in the world, so I'm kind of crossing my fingers that something will end up happening. He'll do as usual, and I hate the taco phrase, but I'm hoping that he holds off and gives it another reprieve before threatening to do that, because I've got some discomfort level on that.
Well, I do. We'd like to take out the military enough that we put them to their knees, but obviously that's not working, or we're not getting to the right places to subdue them. And that's got to be the point. We want to subdue them as quickly and fast as possible and hurt as few people as possible. I mean, that's just the whole game when it comes to, war, right? We want to bring them to their knees quick enough so that we can restore everything and get back to some normalcy here.
Absolutely. And, like I said, civilian targets start getting scary by definition. But as you say, we obviously aren't doing the job in terms of completing the job with the military-only targets. The oil terminal might be one of those things that could be a sea change that might move them a little bit. But bottom line is, your point's taken. About the time that news came out, the equity futures went down. I had a headline saying that crypto was recovering, but Bitcoin fell like a rock as well about the same time. Basically, investing in anything, everybody's heading for the hills comparatively this morning, aren't they?
They are, Dave. It seems to be that. I will say this though, ever since the futures went negative, which was fairly early, they haven't been a lot of volatility within them. They've kind of stayed within a pretty thin range right now. So, though they're red, there's no big declines. I mean, out of this world declines we're seeing. We're a third of a point, a half a point, those type of things. But it hasn't really fluctuated a lot this morning.
Yeah, I appreciate the perspective. I mean, I was making it sound like there was a major sell-off. No, there was just a major change in direction more than anything else. I mean, we're reacting, but we're not overreacting at the moment. We start out the morning with the government data dump service on report on durable goods. Top line for it, when you take everything that the businesses have bought that last, they were expecting about a 0.5% decline this month. Ended up down 1.4%, major miss, but you pointed out something that I hadn't seen, excluding transportation. In other words, getting rid of cars and trucks. They were expecting a slight increase of 0.33% by my tip sheet, but we actually gained by 0.8%. That's kind of an interesting juxtaposition. Once you factor the cars and trucks out, we're actually doing not half bad, I guess.
Well, yeah, I think that's true. I mean, let's face it, at this time when interest rates are high and the prices of vehicles are not cheap, that's going to slow down, just like real estate's kind of slowed down. Those things that people have to borrow money to purchase, their budget gets stretched. And so these things are going to be some of the first things that kind of get hacked. I can't afford that right now. We'll have to wait a little longer before we buy that vehicle.
Absolutely. The part of the report that did kind of raise my eyebrows, and I've been kind of going out on a limb and saying I expect defense stocks to do well during this period in our history. Once you factor just defense out of the durable goods, it actually declined more than they expected as well, which kind of surprised me a little bit. Evidently, we aren't replacing the airplanes and the bombs like we thought we were. Either that or bombs aren't considered durable goods. I mean, they are kind of built to blow up, right?
They're expendable.
I suspect so. Tidbits out this morning that Goldman Sachs has done a little calculations, and they say that artificial intelligence is causing a net drag of 16,000 jobs per month on employment growth, boosting the unemployment rate. They measure it as being worth about 0.1 percentage point on our unemployment rate, and they're blaming artificial intelligence for it. Now, that's just one perspective and just one analyst, but it kind of brings home a little bit of chickens to roost that you and I have been talking about. Somewhere down the line, artificial intelligence is going to lean up the employment market, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's the time is the issue. How long is it going to take for that to happen? Um, Other tidbits, I don't know if you remember back in January, a lot of the health insurance stocks took a real beating because the Center for Medicare and Medicaid came out and said, the expectation is we're only going to pay you like 0.1% more for those Medicare Advantage plans. And so all those stocks kind of took a dump. Well, they've kind of jiggered that, I guess, a little bit, Dave. Now they're saying that they're going to increase the payments for Medicare Advantage plans by about, on average, 2.8%, I think. And so you saw Humana, United Healthcare, CVS, all getting a nice bump this morning.
Right after all the seniors ended up going into reduced plans, and right after the deadline when you can change your mind, oh gosh, golly, we're going to give you more. Yep, I'm not shocked, but I'm disgusted. Lordy, it's going to be. We're going to have a busy week at the end of the week as far as reports. We're obviously marking time today, but we're going to get a whole bunch of interesting stuff starting on Thursday. The PCE price index is coming out on Thursday. Get a CPI reading on Friday. We've got relatively quiet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday stuff, but this is not going to be an event-free week, even if we don't do anything in Iran.
No, it's not. We definitely have numbers, coming out that are going to reflect and inflect on the markets as a whole. So definitely something to look out for. Hey Dave, there's going to be a change again in the S&P 500 come
So I
Thursday
hear.
morning open. Um, we're going to add Casey's General Store is going to come into the S&P 500 and replace a company called Hologic. And Hologic is being purchased, I guess, by Blackstone and TPG Global. So that will take them out of the S&P 500, and Casey's General Store will be coming in. That's bumping them a little bit, about a third of a percent. So Casey's General Store is not a cheap stock, Dave. It's like $750 a share.
Woo! I know Casey's. I mean, they're big in the Midwest. I had no idea they were that high priced to stock. So it kind of shows that overall macro trend moving toward retail and services as being the core of our economy, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Hey, we talked about healthcare going up. Oil, they're getting the benefit this morning too of increased oil prices. I think I saw a minute ago the futures are like we're over 115 bucks a barrel right now, but that's helping the oil company stocks. Chevron, ExxonMobil, they're all up a third to a half a percent this morning.
That's good news, bad news to the hilt from what I'm
Exactly.
seeing on oil price. Absolutely. But you have some reports coming out. Earnings season isn't in earnest yet, but later on today, which means tomorrow morning, we'll have for you a bunch of stocks that actually people might have actually heard of. WD-40 is supposed to be reporting a little later on today. Something you I know have tracked about, the Simply Good Foods Company is going to be reporting later on today, and Lotus Technology. Well, I'm sorry, that's Thursday. Had a couple of others that were coming out today.
Looks like we got Levi's coming out after the market closes today.
That's what I was looking for. I lost the sheet of paper that had today's report schedules on it. I think we're starting with the financials tomorrow or next week early on, don't we?
Let's see if I
Should
can
be
get
about due, I
there.
would think.
The seventh. I'm not getting that far over. Sorry, my program's not wanting to scroll that far over.
It's Wall Street. We can't plan more than a week in advance. Well, let's reset the table. Yesterday was a decent recovery. Yesterday we had modest upticks in virtually all the major indexes. Then we come up with the overnight news and a little bit of fright as far as that 8 p.m. deadline tonight is concerned, 45 minutes before opening. What's happening?
Dave, I'm really excited to say there hasn't been much a change this morning. I mean, yes, we're down, but it's like I said, it's not fluctuating much. The Dow right now is down a third of a percent. The S&P 500 is down a little over 4 tenths. The Nasdaq 100 down a little over 6 tenths, as well as the Russell 2000 down a little over 6 tenths. So again, not much change since we've been on the air this morning. On the other side, though, we got silver falling 1.25%, gold's down about a tenth of a percent, and crude oil over 115, Dave, up 2.65%, $115.33 a barrel right now.
Well, poop.
And this is something. Let me just because this doesn't happen very often, Dave.
Yeah.
Brent crude oil is cheaper than WTI by $5 a barrel right now.
Wow, I can't truthfully remember a time that's ever happened. Brent crude's always
Mm,
$5, $6 a barrel more. Wow.
yeah.
Looking at the overseas markets, the Asian rim markets, I've got to be believing they're looking for a retrieve on this deadline because almost everything was green. The Hong Kong index was off fractionally, but everybody else was up, including the mainland Chinese markets, up by a little over 0.25%. Europe is also not having a sell-off, although it's mostly red ink over there. Average European index is down about 0.25% on average halfway through their trading day. Maybe we're looking at a calmer influence than we thought we were. I'll take it happily. If this affects your retirement plans, you're looking too much at the daily numbers, though. I need to find out how to stabilize my plans and make my retirement actually happen. How do I find you to make that happen, Philip?
Absolutely, Dave. And let me remind folks because it's hit my phone a couple times this week already. Just because the markets are doing things up or down doesn't mean that's how your portfolio is reacting. Sometimes your portfolio may go up even though the markets are going down. And obviously, the opposite can happen. To make sure you have the right amount of risk in your portfolio, give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule your core retirement analysis. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m. and 95.3 FM.
I do appreciate it, and we'll look for you tomorrow morning, hopefully with some good news to report. Fair enough?
Fair enough, buddy. Have a great day.
Thank you. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Philip Statler.
Hey, folks, good to see y'all today. Hope you join me again tomorrow. Take care. Bye now.